Since 1492, the West and China have been grinding against each other, failing to interlock. We're looking at exactly 533 years of institutional friction. Historical accounts often frame this prolonged misunderstanding as a sequence of moral failures. The evidence points to something structural, an epistemic vacuum. Both sides lack a shared method for recognizing how the other understands right and wrong. To bridge this gap, we require a pedagogy of conscience. This requires us to stop analyzing conscience purely as a matter of religious doctrine and begin studying it as an institutional language. The philosopher Baruch Spinoza argued that understanding is the mechanism that dissolves the passions of misapprehension. We must prioritize structural understanding over the drafting of historical indictments. Think of a civilizational moral framework as a software operating system. If you try to run software designed for one system on completely incompatible hardware, it inevitably crashes hard. To resolve the tensions we see today, we must decode the underlying structural geometry that has made Western and Chinese moral systems mutually unintelligible for 5 centuries. The bedrock problem of statecraft is supreme executive power. In the West, emperors were constrained by the threat of a divine judge. In classical China, we have to ask how you enforce accountability on an emperor without a vertical deity handing down the verdict. The Ming Dynasty philosopher Wang Yangming formalized the concept of ji liangji. He argued that human conscience is innate and immanent. It fires automatically, long before theology arrives to explain it. This coordinate plane visualizes the institutional answer to the emperor problem, the court historian, or Shi Guan. Without a vertical axis of divine revelation to judge the present, the moral axis had to run horizontally, forming a continuous line connecting ancestors to descendants. The court historian functioned as the compiler of a vast accountability ledger. They documented the emperor's actions and transmitted that record forward. The Zhujuan records a moment in the state of Qi when 3 historian brothers consecutively accepted execution rather than alter a single ledger entry. Each died to preserve the sentence, Qui Zhuan assassinated his ruler. The usurper eventually gave up and let the true record stand. An emperor's liability calculus was entirely grounded in this system. Their ultimate fear was the finalized official history, which would be written and scrutinized by the dynasty that succeeded them. In the Chinese operating system, heaven, or tian, possesses a moral vertical, but its sole evidentiary channel is the historical record. History serves as the literal courtroom where supreme power is judged. There is a common assumption that classical China experienced 0 religious wars. The death toll of the Taiping Rebellion in the mid-19th century, roughly 20 million people, suggests a different story. This diagram illustrates the structural conflict. The rebellion's leader, Hong Xiuquan, claimed to be the younger brother of Jesus. He built an exclusivist theology that functioned as an alien installation attempt on the native operating system. His movement targeted the physical infrastructure of Chinese memory. They smashed ancestor tablets and burned Confucian texts. In systems architecture terms, this was a hostile overwrite. The rebellion attempted to force a vertical, revealed theology into a civilization built entirely on horizontal memory. The Qing official who led the counteroffensive and triggered the civilizational immune response was Zhang Guofan. When Zhang Guofan raised the Hunan armies, he did not issue a call to defend a rival deity. His mobilization strategy explicitly asked the gentry to defend the library and the ancestral altars. The Taiping Rebellion stands as a supreme stress test. The one time an exclusivist revelation attempted to seize the state by force, the horizontal system of conscience mobilized and successfully repelled it. Contrast that violent overwrite with the initial entry of the Jesuits into China via Macau in the late 16th century. Matteo Ricci employed a method we can call the civilizational paradigma. He utilized a strategic, enculturated pause. Ricci bypassed the vertical collision entirely. He learned the language, studied the classics, and presented himself to the elites as a fellow literati, a man of the library. He integrated himself into the horizontal frame. Western historiography often assumes Ricci eventually hit a wall of Chinese irrelevance, that the culture simply rejected him. The historical evidence suggests the blockage came from the other direction. This animation highlights the true moment of rupture, which originated in Rome. During the Chinese rites controversy, the Vatican explicitly banned ancestor veneration for Chinese converts. The 500-year epistemic wall was built by Rome's refusal of the Paradinia. The Vatican demanded a vertical collision and terminated the horizontal integration the Jesuits had built. If we strip away the specific historical actors, we can look purely at the structural geometry driving this 533-year friction. This is a diagram of the 5 major Chinese conscience traditions: Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism, the I Ching, and Zen. They are circles, nested inside an oval, overlapping and highly permeable. Adjacent to those are the Abrahamic traditions, represented here as squares, tiled edge to edge. They are bounded, with hard borders against their neighbors. Round systems share space without schism. Square systems require strict, rigid partitions. When we map historical realities onto these shapes, we see that 15 centuries of European theological warfare took place precisely along those hard partition lines. This geometric map offers an architectural diagnosis, identifying why these two halves of the world process moral liability through incompatible hardware. We have mapped out 533 years of a persistent epistemic gap. The question now is how we cross it. The Salesian and Jesuit orders in Asia found a way to inhabit both systems simultaneously. Both orders achieved a durable presence because they led with education. They built schools. They taught astronomy and mapped cartography. They did not lead with direct evangelization. Their classroom methodology connected directly to Wang Yongming's concept of innate conscience. They succeeded by cultivating that conscience through learning, effectively honoring the native Chinese operating system. As we project this into the future of systems architecture, specifically building tools like the AI Human Interface Accountability Atlas, we have to apply the same method. To build global accountability frameworks in the machine age, we must adopt the pedagogy of conscience. We must mandate structural understanding before persuasion and education before evangelization.